Warning, this video will spoil the entire game.
Well, hello there. How about some cookies? There's plenty of rejects in the trash.
Who are you?
That's a fine way to talk to your mother.
You're my mother? I don't remember you. Of
course you don't. Until you need your socks washed.
No, you don't understand. I can't remember where I am or even who I am.
Land's sake, stop your joshing, won't you? Honestly, Steve, I thought you'd grow up a little after graduation. I only hope that new job will plant your feet on the ground.
So, that's my name. Steve. Listen, this may sound strange, but I've lost my memory. Do you believe me?
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I'm serious.
Sure, and next you'll be telling me you don't remember Hank and your little sister.
I don't know, damn it. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Don't you dare use that language around me. You're lucky your father didn't hear you. Or Stephanie, for that matter. How do you think she'd feel knowing her fiancé was a guttermouth?
Fiancé? This is insane.
Oh, you're not having second thoughts about marrying Stephanie? Is that what this silliness is all about? Pre-wedding jitters?
Look, all this talk about weddings is nuts. I'm not marrying anybody till I figure out what's going on here.
Fine, have it your way, but leave me out of it. If you're going to break Stephanie's heart, you march right next door and do it yourself. And don't expect me to write you a note.
There he is, my future son-in-law. And how's he doing today? What brings him to the Potsdam household, huh? Oh, you'll have to ask the missus about that. Stephanie's grounded to the wedding. Can't have her changing her mind at the last minute, not with all that meat at stake.
Hello, Steve. Have you flossed today? Well, Stephanie is grounded, Steve.
Why?
I'm sure I don't know. Mr. Poston has sent her to her room, and in her room she'll stay until Mr. Poston says otherwise. Probably until the wedding. I don't see any reason why not.
Who are you? What are you doing in my room?
Haven't you heard? We're getting married.
So, you're the one. Steve, isn't it?
You mean you don't know me?
I mean, I don't know anyone. I don't remember anything. How many times do I have to say it?
Just once, Stephanie, because I can't remember a damn thing either.
Really? Oh God, I thought it was just me.
You're not alone. Can you tell me what's going on here?
Everything in Harvest seems to revolve around this damned lodge, this Order of the Harvest Moon. They're responsible for this insane bake sale that's coming, and for the Harvest Blood Drive, too. When people talk about the lodge, it's always in this hushed, reverent tone. Mom keeps telling me that women can't join, but she keeps pressuring me to get you to join.
Interesting. Maybe if I want answers, I should go right to the source and get a membership application.
That's probably the worst thing you could do.
You think the lodge is some kind of trap?
I think all of Harvest is a trap.
If that's true, maybe joining the lodge is the only way out.
Only Only initiates may enter the Hall of the Order of the Harvest Moon.
Did you say something?
I did not speak, but my mind touched yours.
Telepathy? But how?
Only those who seek enlightenment warrant my attention. Do you hunger for true knowledge? There are always obstacles to the path. You must first fill out an application to be considered for initiation into the mysteries. Members of the Order are privy to many hidden truths. When you find the path, truth will be revealed to you. When you possess the truth, you will know what you knew. And if anything remains forgotten, then it was never worth the knowing.
One application, please.
I see you've managed to acquire an application. That demonstrates resourcefulness, a desirable trait for prospective members. You must now enter the lodge. Initiates find it a hostile place.
Are you supposed to help me or get me killed?
I'm starting you on the path of initiation to a very special, very exclusive brotherhood. I am merely the administrator of the test. Whether you view me as an enemy or a friend depends on how well you prepare to pass. Whatever occurs in here is relevant to the great question, which you cannot help but answer. What is at issue is whether, in answering the question, you will find the answers you seek. You will encounter those intent on preventing or prompting your answer, depending on how you look at it. While the assumption is you want to live, dying is easy and provides its own answer, but not for you.
Now, let the initiation begin.
It is time for the great moment, when an initiate becomes a brother.
I want an explanation of all this.
Of course you do. I'm sure this is all so very confusing. Everything in Harvest is slightly askewed. This is because, as advanced as our technology is, we cannot make this sim any better than this. The subject's subconscious always warps it in unpredictable ways. This is nothing more than a virtual reality designed by harvesters to test potential members. Having successfully completed the program, you have earned the right to become a harvester.
What the hell is a harvester?
The ones who look at facts. The ones who look at something objectively and without bias.
You're talking about games. Reviewing games.
Again, and again, and again. I believe the technical term is video game critic. You persevere through a recruitment of initiates, like yourself.
You want me to become a video game critic?
This entire reality has been engineered to break down your resistance, to desensitize you to video games. Now, we want to hear your thoughts of this game as a recruit, using gameplay footage of another person going through the simulation.
Alright, I'll do the test. I will get this out of the way first. Yes, this has a tagline of it being considered the most violent adventure game of all time, and is added onto many lists ranking the most violent video games ever made. The Metacritic score of this is so low, but in Moby Games it has a slightly better average of 65 out of 100, with all of them of course mentioning the gore. I'm seeing user reviews on the Google page saying that it lacks the scares, assuming that people go into this thinking it's a horror game, simply because of how violent it is. Yes, this game is violent, and I mean super violent. But only focusing on that aspect is doing a massive disservice of this. This is actually a very smart game, with a more satirical tone rather than anything. I would go as far as to say that this was not a product of its time, but was rather ahead of it. The plot of it leaves you with a lot of questions in the opening, which seems to be the staple at the time, and the setup of it is one as well. You play as Steve Mason, a recent high school graduate who wakes up in a 50s suburban town with amnesia, and everything about it just feels off to him. The amnesia suits the fact that it leaves you with questions as you find yourself exploring throughout the setting with him, learning everything the same time as the character does. You think with this it would just lead to your standard point-and-click tropes? But trust me, you are in for a huge surprise. Every character here is an oddball, and the only thing they all have in common with is the obsession with the Lodge, a huge building in the center of the town which is run by a cult known as the Order of the Harvest Moon. You then try to get into this cult and go through an initiation ceremony. You also meet that dummy thick Stephanie, who you're supposed to marry in 3 weeks, which comes as a surprise to both of you, as she has amnesia as well. They end up having this connection later on anyways, but it makes sense because it says they felt connected with their bodies. Kind of like how their mind forgot who the other person was, but they know that other person from somewhere. To call the town off is an understatement. It is a famous trope to have that outsider entering a strange town, but this takes it to such a surreal and extreme direction that it makes it feel original. As a side note, something about one of these characters, who actually plays the main one, Steve, adds to the surreal nature of this. He was arrested for possessing child pornography. Also, did anyone notice that he's pretty much wearing the exact same dress shirt as in the game? But the fact that makes it special is not how absurd and surreal the town of Harvest is, but rather how satirical it is. This is a 50s town, and one that is a clear resemblance of the McCarthy era. You've got your housewives just doing chores, and they all give the Stepford Wives feel. The fact that they are all played by the same actress emphasizes that. And even Steve notices this. There are other aesthetical aspects of this, like the Twin Peaks ex-diner and the Paperboy. You have the Cold War aspect of it too. There are the nuclear bomb drills in the school, and the obsession with UFOs and communists, thinking that anyone that does something outside of the norm makes them a communist. You have the teachers doing strong and very violent discipline, the homophobia, which is frankly a pretty bad pun to the firefighters being gay because they are flaming homosexuals, and the hatred of immigrants. However, the satire of it is simply made by taking these to an extreme. There's this contrast up top of it with its incredibly dark yet humorous overtones. You have this example of a kid getting beat in the head with a baseball bat, and it does a more slapstick style of humor to it. You have this World War II obsessed and mentally ill vet, who's always on the lookout for commies, and for some reason is guarding all the nukes with no safeguards. If you accidentally out yourself as one, you'll experience what is one of the best game over scenes in any game.
Frankly, all these questions are making me a little suspicious of you. Maybe you're one of those pink-blooded Americans. Can you give me any reason why I shouldn't shoot you right now? I appreciate your honesty, comrade.
One of the most interesting aspects of this was how Steve's parents have sex. You never see the father with him being locked in the bedroom. Coming into it, you see this. In fact, I'll let him explain how the sex works.
I know it's a mystery to you. The sacred things that husbands and wives do behind closed doors. Maybe we should have that special father-son talk. Especially now that you're getting married. But listen, I can't talk very loud. It's the tracheotomy. When a man and a woman love each other very much, they go into a room alone and shut the door and bolt it with at least 3 locks and prop a chair under the doorknob. so no one can get in or out. Then they take off their clothes and get out a wide variety of scalpels. Some curved, some short, all of them sharp. And then the man climbs on the woman. And then they... with the barbed wire, they...
I actually see this as a deconstruction of how sex was viewed in the 50s. The marriages during this era were more patriarchal, but in the bedroom it seems to be more matriarchal. You have the use of torture as well. What's the resemblance of this? Sex was seen as a sin, something taboo, and this simply just exaggerated how scary sex was viewed at in this era of America. This leads to one character that makes it maybe even too obvious that it's a satire, and that's the TV star The Range Rider. Look at this section of dialogue, and it just says enough.
Violence? What about it? Violence is as American as apple pie and low SAT scores. Where would we be right now if the cowboys hadn't gone out west and butchered innocent people to steal their land? Answer me that, Mr. Know-It-All.
Even if it did feel a bit too obvious, it was still great. And for people that need the artist to explicitly tell the message, which I don't get that style of thinking by the way, they will find it okay here. This is the best aspect of this game, the town itself. You explore the town throughout 6 different days. It almost becomes a routine, even down to the beginning of the day of you having to give the newspaper to the paperboy. With point-and-click games, a game is successful if you do more than just the main plot of it. You feel immersed in the world, compelled to explore it. This achieves that goal in spades. I talked to every town member every day to see what the reactions to the events were, and I always had a blast doing so. In fact, most of the time I spent playing this game was just introducing myself to them on the first day. On my first playthrough, I thought this game was going to take a dozen hours because of this. But it turns out talking to all of them on the first day takes up like half of the game. I do see this as a good thing though, as it doesn't overstay its welcome. The comedy is at its absolute best here. There's the more overt stuff which I will mention, but hell, even the game over screen is funny to me for some reason. I mean, look at how the skull looks at you here. It's so disappointed in you. I also loved this hint. But I should warn you, there will probably be at least one thing that would trigger someone. Every dark thing you can think of is applied here. But I yearned for surreal, dark, and absurdist humor, so I felt right at home here. I gotta show my 2 favorite scenes here, and I'm pretty sure that these are common opinions.
Okay, you can come in now, son.
My God. Is that what I think it is?
Yep, it's a spinal cord.
Is it Stephanie?
I can see a resemblance, but I can't be sure.
More pie, Sheriff?
Pie? Don't you realize what's happened?
Oh, indeed I do. I can just hear the tongues wagging at the PTA. Was it suicide?
Never heard of anyone pulling their own spinal cord out before. Off the record, I'd have to say no. No, all in all, I'd say this was death by natural causes.
Natural causes?
You can't live without a spinal cord, son. Nothing unnatural about that. Think I will have some more pie.
Right away.
I can't believe this. This is horrible.
Believe me, you get to the point to where this is routine. Now the only clue we got is that card on our pillow. Take a look at it.
This is practically a confession.
Confession to what, son?
Murder. Isn't that what you're here to investigate?
Son, you don't investigate natural deaths. No point.
Then I'll get to the bottom of this myself.
Yeah. I'm sure you will.
More pie, Sheriff?
Don't mind if I do.
A great example of this is how you gotta get into the lodge. The first thing you gotta do is literally fill out an application. Kind of weird for such an important cult in the town to do. Of course, to set its violent tone, the initiation ceremony gets more and more dark, to the point that it pretty much gets violent. As stated when I was talking to the surgeon at arms, the user's subconscious in this simulation is what affects the world. Steve states that his favorite car is the only car people drive here. This makes you question just how much of this world is affected by him and how much is a default for the simulation. Obviously, the simulation has to set a violent tone to it, but is the 50 setting there because Steve is a young adult who just finished high school and now wants to chase the American dream? I like how this game gives stuff up for interpretation like this. This also leads to the overall message of this. Whether or not violent media affects people, and if it makes them violent. The brilliant part is that it's all up to you in the ending of this. The gameplay is obviously minimal in a point-and-click game, but most of the game does so brilliantly. Nothing really felt too illogical. They do provide enough direction in case you screw up, but gives a mostly linear group of events so that you never feel too lost. I rarely had to use a guide for this. There are moments where I thought I screwed up, like I have to find a certain screwdriver, and it was in a garage that was always locked. There's also this evidence room that you gotta go into. The best part? Those always stay open after you've explored them, and you are free to go back into them to take items you missed without punishment. Is that illogical? Yeah. But in a world that makes little sense, it's okay to suspend your disbelief, especially when it helps stop the game from soft locking. However, this game takes a huge turn when you actually enter the lodge. It still has its point-and-click primary genre, but it includes combat, and lots of it. The combat is frankly not the best, but I honestly didn't mind it. It's just so primitive and strange that it gives off this charming vibe that I ended up getting into. Plus, seeing all the gore afterwards always makes it great. It makes you question how Harvest actually is when you get in there. Is it like Lynch where one actor plays multiple characters, or do they have multiple roles, one in the town and one in the lodge? It honestly seemed like both was happening. There are two flaws I could see with this. The satirical tone is now gone. It's replaced with full-on surrealism, and lots of symbolism that is frankly just way too obvious. But I do like that, so once again I was still into it. I did enjoy the themes of them too. They take the hedonistic themes that seem to revolve around some of the 7 deadly sins, but they take the more selfless acts and turn them upside down. Aspects such as motherly love, mercy, and charity. There was this interesting use of this when you see the Wasp lady, with her talking about the nature of Wasp in a more philosophical way, which I find fascinating because Wasps don't really have a consciousness. The thing that I gotta say I dislike about this are the soft locks. Remember when I said you could go back to certain areas to pick up items in case you missed them? It seems like you can't really do that here. If you missed an item, you're pretty much screwed. This caused me to save so often. This was almost the perfect game for me. If you have a twisted sense of humor like me, and don't mind surrealism, then you'll feel right at home here.
have done well with this, but you will not be initiated as a brother just yet. No, you must do what many deem as terrible to become a video game critic. You must give this game a score.
No, I can't do that. If I do, people will just focus on the score and not the actual review of this.
If you do not do so, we will pull the plug in the real world. You will be free to live in this world with Stephanie in what will feel like a lifetime. But the only way to enter the world is to complete the initiation.
No. Fine. This game gets a 9 out of 10.
Very well.
That was groovy.
And obscure PC stuff, then you might just be hip enough for this pretentious hipster.
Okay, well, I'm now part of the Order of the Harvest Moon. Want to see what I got to show for it? Huh? I'll show you. You see these? Yes, these are games. Snoopy the Red Baron, fantastic, 8 out of 10. Batman the Brave and the Bold, 8 out of 10. Halo, bleh, 4 out of 10. Myst 4, 7 out of 10. Fallout 3, 8 out of 10. Blade of Darkness, 10 out of 10. Triforce Heroes, haha, 1 out of 10. See how well I can do this? I will become a master.
What you doing that late, son?
I'm reviewing games.
Don't you know how bad that is? That is disgusting.
It's cool.
You will rot your mind doing that. And you will stop playing games for fun.
That's bullshit, Mom.
Why do you think Electric Playground and
X-Play?
And X-Play stop playing on TV?
Electric Playground and X-Play? Electric Playground and X-Play?